Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 5, Episode 8 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast. It's supposed to come out on 5/23/2022. So if you're listening to this in the future, I'm sorry for that stutter. And if you're listening to it in the past, you have a time machine. Otherwise, we are going to start right into it. We're going to talk about a Merlot that I made. We're going to talk about a Merlot that I made over the summer. Ricky's been like sipping on it. It's basically 12% ABV, 5-gallon of Merlot that I made. And I think this is the second to last bottle that I have of it. We also are going to get into some stuff about bots and stuff like that. So it should be a good episode. So what do you think, man?
In all honesty, I really want to know how you made this. I don't remember this particular brew, but it's real good.
Oh,
I mean, I'm not generally a big wine person in terms of making my own. I'll do like a strawberry wine or something, but that's only called a wine because of the ABV. It's not really a real wine. We've made some red wines in the past with like grape juice and stuff like that. They were okay, but they weren't that great. But this is really smooth. It's like semi-sweet, which I like. Like, it's not really sweet, but it's not dry. Mm-hmm. And, you get a little bit of that oaky flavor to it. There's some of that, those tertiary flavors that you don't generally get. So, did you go buy, Merlot grapes for this?
I did buy a Merlot grape concentrate for this. But I also put some wine tannin in it and some other things, put some clarifier in it. That doesn't really affect the taste so much. But this has just been setting for about 8 months. So at this point, I think. So it's just been I kind of did it last fall, and it's been setting, and I've been waiting for you to try it that whole time. And it wasn't quite ready to bottle when you got the Christmas brews that I made for you. So you didn't get any over Christmas, but I made it around the same time that I made those brews.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is pretty good.
It was like $60 for the kit. It made 5 gallons, which made my math is a little bit off, but it's like 40 bottles, and then I have like a couple of these little 12-ounce bottles that makes about 2 glasses worth of wine. Sorry for making that noise as I set that back down. But yeah, man, look, the legs on it are nice. It's got nice tannic value. It is a really clear, a ruby red.
Clear. Very good smell to it.
I'm surprised. I made a couple of kits because I mean, you can get your own grapes and you can mash them, or you can buy the grape juice concentrate.
Yep.
And so I've made a couple of kits now that kind of showed me some of the places that we went wrong with making the juice. And so I think what I'm going to do is go back and buy some more grape juice and make it with the same method, and see if that ends up being as good as I'm going to do a pie mint too, where I get some grape juice and do it the same way, because the pie mint that I made off of the same sort of grape kit was phenomenal. And unfortunately, I don't have any more because it was so good. I think I have 1 bottle left that I'm letting age for a year. So I'm going to make another one, but that was only a 1-gallon batch versus making or it was a 2-gallon batch versus making a 5-gallon batch. And I think at this point, I pretty much need to make 5-gallon batches whenever I'm making these things, because they're getting to be good enough that they're not experiments.
Yeah, I mean, that was really nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. And just to let you know, that went completely dry. It's 1.0. It just has perceived sweetness because of I didn't back sweeten it anything. I just let it go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, semi-sweet's probably not the right word, but 1.0 is still some residual sugar, because the plain alcohol will go down to 0.99.
Right.
So yeah, just even that little bit extra, it keeps it right at water, which is maybe the better way to describe that. It's like wet, So it's not sweet. It's just not dry.
Right. Yeah. Well, so when I first got it, off the lees and everything, it was very like mouth puckering. And there's something about the tannic value that's in there that even though the astringency, like it brought out some of the sweetness. I'm not really sure how to describe it. It just made it have a better mouthfeel.
I get
overall.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that is really one of those benefits from using these wine grapes. You go buy grape juice at the store, and it's not going to have particular flavor profiles when it's aged because it's not,
Right.
I don't want to say engineered, but it's not selectively bred for those characteristics. Whereas these wine grapes are.
Yep.
And that's kind of the big benefit of getting those kits like that.
The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to put half of it. I'm going to get another of these 5-gallon kits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get a cab, I think, and I'm going to get some whiskey chips, some like oak barrel chips that have like rum or whiskey. I'm not sure which one. And then I'm going to put that in it at the finishing and see like if I can get myself a nice barrel aged kind of flavor out of it. Get some of those buttery notes, some of those nice things. So excited about it, man. This is going to be the next thing. And the next time that we get together and brew, I am looking forward to trying to do something like that with you. Also, since we're talking about, and I laid that down too hard. I don't understand. I have eliminated the bumping. Like I'm not hitting anything here, but I still make noise. Anyways, I made a candy corn mead, and now I use Man-Made Mead's recipe for that. But it is like 17% ABV. It is crazy high. And then I made a blueberry hibiscus mead, like traditional mellow thing. Or it's a blubamel or something like that. But I'm gonna try to like get that to turn out right. I've got 3 gallons of the blueberry one, and I've got 1 gallon of the candy corn mead. So we'll be trying that probably in the second half of the season.
Okay.
That I'm gonna try to also make a pumpkin mead like in the next couple of weeks so that it'll be ready by Halloween.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finally ready to start gearing up to be brewing stuff again myself. Now that we're moved into the house and picked out the cabinet, I'm going to put everything in when it's brewing, and I'm very excited for it.
I'm looking forward to it because generally between the two of us, we come up with something that's pretty fun. Some fun stuff.
Yeah, one of the last things I made when we were in the house, I just forced enough space in to make it work, was that strawberry wine, which was really good, but it needed still a decent amount of work. Like the primary flavor was there, but it had no secondaries, had no tertiaries, and the mouthfeel was not the best.
Was not right. No.
So I'm thinking about getting that kit again and then trying to fix up a lot of those problems.
Well, we if you wanted to like get it and then like us do it together, I could like kind of like if you went through every step together, I could show you like the stuff that I do to get this now, and that might help with that.
Yeah, very well could. Really it was just made plain as the kit. There were nothing else added in, and that was a decent flavor, but it really needed like some white tea or something in there to give it a little bit more tannin, to give it something other than just this is a strawberry.
Yeah. Well, what you really need to do if you're going to have it like work the way that it's supposed to, is take that. This is completely off topic from what I planned for a starter, but I mean, sure, this could become the thing that we talk about this episode because I'm so nerdy about brewing. But so, or what I found with wines that are especially like fruit wines, you need to add tannin and step feed nutrients. Like if you really want them to get the best flavor out of them. And so, having like some sort of schedule, like a TOSNA schedule, and giving it some sort of tannic value at the beginning, and then because that will help the overall mouthfeel. So something like a red wine tannin, even in like white wines, gives it that like tannic value, and I think it's like crushed up chestnut hulls or something like that. But it gives it enough of the like feeling that that had wood in it. That I think those two things right there would be all that really needs to move forward, like to be because it was smooth, it was great, it just didn't develop its other flavor profiles that it could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with that mix. Again, back to grapes have been selectively bred for a very long time to naturally have a lot of those other flavors to them, whereas that strawberry wine mix was literally, it's like strawberry concentrate with a couple other fruits to round it out,
Yep.
like pear and apple and stuff like that. So it's never really ever gonna on its own develop those other flavors. So you got to introduce something yourself
Yep.
to put those in. And that's what I'm excited to kind of play around with.
Well, it will. So it will develop some other flavors if it ages on certain things. So what
Well,
I
yeah,
mean
but
by
that's
that
still
is like if
the
you-
additive.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I get
an
what you're
additive.
saying.
But like if you drop some like French oak in, for instance, it'll develop. It'll get flavors, and then it'll also help to develop certain flavors that are within the must itself, whatever the wine is that you're making, whether it's peach, pear, whatever. So those are two things. But I mean, there's also other things that I've seen people do where so like for instance, one other thing that you could do with that particular wine, since it was basically a strawberry mix, in secondary you could take some frozen strawberries and put them in there, like and have them so that it's not so much for flavor, but it's for all the other things that strawberries
Yeah, you
give.
can get some tannins and pectins in there.
Yeah, exactly. And that helps with clearing the wine, with all the other things that you want it to do. And it really gives it like a certain feeling. It's not really mouthfeel, but you're right. Tea, tannin, things like that will hugely improve that process for that wine. I'm excited. You're talking about making it again. I love the wine, so
Yeah,
it's
it was really good.
Gonna get some more, but some,
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I might ruin it the first time, but one of the things, 'cause I've been looking out for things to add to it for at this point like almost 2 years. Like it's been a while since we had that wine. And we found this tea through one of my wife's friends. It's called I think it's like Unicorn Tears or something like that. It is legitimately an incredibly good tea. It's a herbal tea that's got almost this like a little bit of a citrusy vanilla sort of flavor to it
Okay.
that I think would pair with that really well. My only concern is it's a very interesting color for tea. It is like almost blue. So, it's not necessarily bad. You mix blue and red, you're going to get purple maybe,
yeah.
depending on where that run
Or
is.
it could just strip it out, or like not
Maybe,
even be there.
yeah. I'll have to play around with it, like adding alcohol to it, because the whole reason it's called Unicorn Tears is some of the stuff they put in it, these herbs for them, react like color-wise to acids.
Yeah.
So like if you've ever seen you brew like a black tea, but
Yep.
you put lemon in it, it becomes like orange.
Yep.
Because a lot of that stuff chemically reacts. So if you put an acid to that, it changes the color.
Right.
So I might buy a little like vodka or something like that that's clear, add that in, see what does that change the color profile to maybe get a better idea for what the actual additive color is going to be.
Yeah.
Because I can get away with most colors. I think you can do. Green has the potential to show up there, which that wouldn't be the best. A little hard to get someone to drink something very green.
I'd still drink it as long as I knew that it was like green because of like something that you intended for it to do.
It's supposed to be green.
Yeah, it's like the brown wine in that, what was that movie that Chris Pine was in? It was about winemakers in California. Oh, his dad made this wine. It was a Chardonnay, and it won some sort of French thing, and it's like I don't know that I really loved the movie. That's why I can't remember the name and stuff like that. But it just made me think about, nobody wanted to drink it because it turned brown, but it turned out that because it had absolutely no oxidization, and that was a very rare thing to have happen. It was actually a masterfully made wine. Okay. So like maybe your green wine would be a masterfully made wine.
That's true. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's avant-garde.
Oh. Yeah. Do you want some more of this wine?
Actually, yeah, it's really good.
All right, I'll pour you some more. Yeah. So let's talk about bots ruling our chats, or we can continue to talk about brewing. I'll let you choose. Which one would you like to do?
You know what? I'm gonna say this: bots can try and rule chat. They're awful. I hate them.
Yeah.
Having just moved this weekend, I tried to set up my internet service several times via the only help they wanted to give me initially, which was these automated little setup things and chat bots and all that stuff. And man, that was not a fun experience at all. Um, Temporarily, I have switched back to Spectrum instead of Google Fiber, just because I'm going to get an addition put on the house, and that's where the utilities are.
Okay.
So I'm already going to have a lot of utilities rerouted, and the house doesn't. They've done some weird stuff with the cabling. I don't know if they self-installed it or what, but they're running the cables across the house instead of up into the attic and doing a wall drop.
Oh.
So it's like, oh my gosh, I try and get fiber in here. This is going to be a nightmare. I really need to call a contractor to run all the current wiring correctly first.
Yeah.
And then I can worry about that. So I'm going to have Spectrum for a couple months. But yeah, they just walked me through this setup over and over. And I'm like, guys, it's not working. And eventually I just called somebody and went through all the like, nope, I don't want help. Nope, stop reading me all these things. I know how to cook up a modem. Come on, come on. And the guy was like, oh, you've hooked it up to multiple coax and it still doesn't work? Yeah. Have you tried multiple coax cables? Yeah. Oh, we just might not have an active line to that house. I'll send a technician out. That's all it was.
Yeah.
They send me all this self hookup setup stuff, and they didn't. I guess they don't track whether or not they actually have a line.
So that was from Spectrum.
Yep.
That was doing that. Oh, so I thought you were saying I had problems with Google Fiber.
Oh, no. Google Fiber's always been great. I just haven't called them out because I knew that was going to be a whole big thing. I want to get the cabling in the house working properly before I worry about putting in my long-term ISP.
We had a coworker, or we have a coworker who did the Google Fiber thing. Where with me, I had like this brilliant experience. Every time I've ever had anyone come out from Google or the contractor come out, it's always been great. He was like, this has been a crap show. You know, this is totally terrible. I hate this. Google messing everything up. I mean, he was using more explicatives than that. But yeah, so I was kind of like, oh, this is interesting. His experience. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens with you, especially since you have to get a new line. And my Google Fiber was already run here.
Yeah, well, I got a new line in my old house. I didn't tell my landlord I was doing it, but I did get Google Fiber set up on my rental. And it was a pretty good experience, but I'd already planned it all out.
Yeah.
And we already had some existing cabling infrastructure inside the house. So, like, all he had to come in was actually, like, drill the equipment into the house.
Right.
And then everything on the inside was already done.
Gotcha.
So that might have been the difference for the coworker is if he doesn't have that sort of stuff, I can see it being a problem. Because when they came out,
he already had Cat 5 running and everything like that.
Oh, then, yeah. I don't know. You know, I'm not going to say his experience is incorrect.
I also think that he's a person that likes to stir the pot a little bit sometimes.
Oh, that's very true. But
yeah,
that's okay. But yeah, it's interesting. I'll say this about the house I'm in now, though. They've got whatever it is, the RJ1819, the phone lines.
Yeah. So yeah, RJ.
Is 15?
No, I think it's 19.
Yeah, somewhere in there. They've got phone lines run to like almost every single room that they did do correctly and drop out of the ceiling. So I don't know why they ran all the coax through the around the building. But I'm gonna get some cablers to come out and just take out all of those phone lines and put in Ethernet.
Yeah,
because I've already got everything, all the wall drops for them.
You may want to consider leaving the phone lines as like secondary pull wires to add, and when they come out, they're probably going to try to put in Cat 5e, but try to get them to put in
not
Cat 6 or Cat 7. Yeah, I mean because once it's put in, it's there, and you can you can upgrade to 10 gig or 2.5 gig with no problem. That'll be ball. I'll start being jealous of you, and then you can upgrade to the 2 gig plan with no issues.
Yep.
For Google, which it's good. It's really good having that plan. Just I wish I could take full advantage of it as much as I can only take full advantage of it whenever it's in certain situations.
Yep.
Yeah, so the topic that I had put in was really sparked by this whole thing with Twitter and the acquisition of Twitter and them talking about how many bots are on Twitter. Now, I hate interacting with bots in a like, hey, let me interact with this bot to do X, Y, and Z for something that I need help with. But when I want status information, I love it. Like I don't have to like a webhook or something that's able to return some information through a like a chat bot or something. I'm just like, hey, what's my balance on my account
Yep.
or something like that. Oh, please, I don't want to talk to a person or like have to go like sign in to like a thing. I can just go someplace and just say, hey, slash balance, and it just shows me the balance, and it's in like either an encrypted chat or something like that. I am good. But what scares me is the thought, because it's already heading in that way, where just everything that you have is mediated so that you're never able to get to an actual person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just cutting out human interaction and compassion and the ability to like really have a good experience. Now, sometimes when it does work, it's great, but the fact that it's only automated, that it's
Yeah.
they're completely taking the humans out of it, that bothers me.
Yeah, I forget what we were working on. Something to do with my wife. I don't remember right now anymore exactly what it was. But we're working with some company that she had to work through, and there was no people involved. Some sort of transfer process was not working, and it was only bot. It was only automated. And when she did finally find a number she could call a person, they said, "Oh, we can't do anything. The bots do it all.
Yeah.
You can try again tomorrow and see if the thing's working."
Yeah.
And at the time, it was a fairly important thing. I don't 100% remember. I think actually maybe she was trying to pay a bill or something like that. I know it was financial in some nature, but we haven't had like loans that we had to pay off for a while, so it had to be something like that. So, yeah, I mean, at what point is it like, look, you've built the great automated system, wonderful, but you have no people backing it up. So when it doesn't work,
Yeah.
you're just screwed.
Yeah, exactly. What's going to happen when it doesn't work? Yeah. So I mean, I don't really know where I'm going with that chat. It's not like I have any, like I can go, don't make bots. Don't make bots that only are bots. But, like, don't make it so that that's the only way I can pay my bill, or
Exactly.
like if I need troubleshooting done for a problem, that's the only way I can get troubleshooting done, and I can't get to a person eventually.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Or, even just notification systems. People don't think about that stuff as much. That, like, once you start engaging with people, you really have to have a fairly fine amount of accuracy before you start affecting people's lives. Like,
Right.
I remember I was in a meeting with somebody. I think it was our old manager. And it was wrapping up, so I started checking some of the mail. And I had a letter that was like, "Oh, hey, we're turning your water off today." I was like, "Excuse me?" So I let her go. I called and was like, "What? This is saying I have an unpaid bill, but when I go check my balance, it's fine. And you've scheduled me for termination today." Because I don't get a lot of mail, so I don't check it every single day.
Yep.
So they send it to me like last week, and I was just now checking it. And they were like, "Oh, I mean, you're all paid." I was like, "Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I am. But what's going on? Are you going to turn my electricity off? I mean, my water off?" And they're like, "No, you're not scheduled for anything. I don't know why it sent you that." I was like, "Oh, okay." They sent it to me again, and they didn't know. And I think what it is basically when you sign up for the account, it sets your whatever date as when you signed up for it.
Yep.
As your pay date, but it still considers a bill late in the little automation system if it's past, I think, like the 10th of the month.
Right.
So I think my payday was like the 11th. So it probably was just like, "Oh, you didn't pay your bill," and sent me some automated, like, he didn't know where the letter was getting sent from. He didn't know what system flagged it. And it's, I work in automation, right? Like, as I'm stuttering through it, like, I understand automated data collection. I understand that, especially for larger businesses or you're servicing a lot of people, you can't have it completely human run.
Right.
One, there will be errors. Two, it's going to take forever. There has to be some level of automation. But once you start making that effort to, like, I'm going to automate interacting with my users, you really got to get that right.
Yeah, and
because
if you
it's
don't
real
get
easy.
it right, it messes everything up.
Yeah, like if that was not like my water provider, which I have no say in because it's city water, if that was like a regular service I was using, that might have been like, I need to switch to somebody else because you guys are thinking about like switching my stuff off. Look at that, my internet provider.
Yeah.
If Google did that to me, I might go back to Spectrum or AT&T or something like that. Cause like, you can't shut my internet off in the middle of the day. I work from home.
That's not,
You know?
that's not going to work out. That's not going to work out at all.
Exactly. So, you got to be careful with stuff like that.
Well, speaking of bots, let's talk about Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
So Blizzard was bought by Microsoft, and during the whole hog fiasco, still it's technically going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got distracted with everything else that's happening in the world, and have just kind of forgotten about Hong Kong. But Hong Kong still has problems. It's still being changed, and there's people there who are kind of not happy with that, right? So the Hong Kong situation made me like, okay, look, I'm not going to get involved with Blizzard Activision doing stuff.
Yeah.
I had a World of Warcraft account. I've been playing it since like beta,
Mm-hmm.
World of Warcraft. But I didn't delete my account. I just like stopped paying for it. I shut everything off, and I just quit playing their games. And I like to play through like Diablo and stuff like that once or twice. I still every now and then would like to pick up like Diablo 3 or something, but I haven't like picked. I have all those games because I bought them before that, but I haven't picked it back up, since then. Now Microsoft has bought Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
All those games are licensed under Microsoft. Does that mean that all that stuff is now open for me to play again? Is like Blizzard like actually accessible again, or do I have to still like stay away from them?
Yeah, it's so hard to tell on those things like that. Like, I've boycotted EA for a really long time. I won't play any EA games. So I see exactly where you're coming from. I'm really almost on that same fence with Bethesda, even though Bethesda's done nothing like really awful. Yeah. But Bethesda got acquired by Microsoft. I've been watching that to see like, is this getting better? Like, is this going to be? Is some of those things we've talked about Bethesda doing in the past in terms of just like bad game design and bad customer support and leaking stuff, is that going to get better? And I don't know, the anniversary edition thing kind of pissed me off a little bit. I'm still waiting to see. Starfield got delayed. Of course, I didn't really care that much about Starfield, so we'll see. I think maybe my only answer is I don't know yet. We'll see if the people involved in that are really gone. How much has Microsoft taken over versus how much has Microsoft decided, well, we're going to let you run independently still, but we just want a chunk of the pie.
Yeah, I think they're trying to, like, from a strategy perspective, Microsoft's trying to buy up these gaming companies so that they can bolster their Xbox and Windows gaming because of the Steam Deck, and of PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch. They've got to kind of combat some of those things that are going to be native gaming on their platforms. And if they want to really like have those big IPs, they're going to have some big first party IPs other than Halo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And they don't, they canceled some of their other big IPs like Fable and stuff like that. So now they're probably trying to find some other ones. And the Elder Scrolls is going to be a big one for them.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, like, I totally get it. Totally with that. And Blizzard being part of it, it's kind of the same thing. Like, are we now going to be able to play World of Warcraft on Xboxes? Is that going to be a thing?
That's true.
Do you if you have the PC license, do you get do you get the Xbox license if you have a subscription?
That'd be a really interesting idea, like a real serious MMO on a console. How does that work?
So you already can do that.
Well, yeah, I know there's a couple out there, but like nothing touches WoW.
It's pretty close. The Elder Scrolls Online, with complexity and size and everything, is pretty close to World of Warcraft, and that's a fully playable on both Xbox and PlayStation. And then you have things like the Forgotten Realms RPG, the Dungeons and Dragons one.
Yep.
That's out there. That's the MMO. But like World of Warcraft in its complexity could have the same sort of thing as like the Elder Scrolls Online. So I don't see, there's nothing technically that would stop it from being able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You would be able to do it. They would just have to like make the buttons work with the.
Yeah, they'd have to figure out how do you keep that competitive? Are you mixing people together? Are you keeping them apart? Because MMO is so heavy in terms of like such a passionate user base.
Right.
You got people with macros all over the place that are, they've got 100 buttons at their disposal. So how do you keep that looking sharp?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. Maybe I'll go back. I might play some Diablo 4. I don't know. I haven't. So that all happened right when I started to play Warcraft 3 again.
Mm-hmm.
And I had bought Warcraft 3 Reforged, and I never really got to experience it.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, I'm not going to play these. Like, I'm not going to do this right
Mm-hmm.
now. But maybe I'll go back and play that, and I'll see how I feel morally.
Yeah.
If I feel bad after that, I'll be like, nope, I just shouldn't play these games.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like the rich people are such douches sometimes, right? They just gave the CEO, that guy that like did all the like bad stuff. They just gave him like a walking paper and like a whole bunch of money, and we're just like, yeah, here you go, retire in peace.
Exactly.
You terrible person. It's awesome. So I don't know. I don't, and I'm not saying like, I'm not talking about like, the 5% of people that are just wealthier than everybody else. I'm talking about the 1% of those people that are just like ultra rich, do like all sorts of like stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Or ultra privileged people that, just kind of get away with stuff. And then, you have people that aren't rich that do stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like I forget if it was J.P. Morgan or Citibank or which one, but one of the international banks has really been hit hard this last year or two. And for the first time ever, the shareholders voted not to give him his, like, it was ridiculous. It was like more than $100 million bonus. That's his bonus. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
all right.
I make a paltry $1 million for my salary, but this year I'm going to go to the poorhouse because I didn't get my bonus.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to throw a number out there because I don't remember the number, but in the back of my mind it's tingling that it was like $600 million or something like that. It was like more than $500 million to just his yearly bonus for maintaining the bank. And it's like,
I'm in the wrong line of work, man.
I don't know. Look, but here's the thing. You're flabbergasted. I didn't get my $250 million or $500 million bonus after our stocks went down 30%. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so this is crazy.
This
is insane.
Yeah, the financial news was like, oh, this is a very powerful symbol. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's telling the people that run these things to watch out, or the really rich people will come at you.
But it's just more rich people. I mean, like 90% of stock is owned by other corporations, and other like investment firms. So like if they voted for him not to get it, it's not like the average person voted for it. You and me didn't vote for that. Other rich people voted for that. It's rich people telling other rich people you'd have less money.
Yeah.
Like, what is...
it's just crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we're undecided on the first two topics. We're just we have no conclusion other than let's just babble on about this thing. But let's talk about gaming on Chromebooks. I actually think we might have some stuff that's like really good here. So you get a Intel-based Chromebook. I'm hoping an ARM-based soon too. You get an Intel-based Chromebook, and you get on the beta and everything like that, and you can download Steam, not the Android version of Steam, but like a native version of Steam, and install Steam games on the Chromebook. What do you think about that?
I mean, as long as all the drivers there support it and play it well, I'm not against that. I kind of like the diversity in hardware that you can get nowadays. I know we've been talking a lot about emulators and stuff like that. Especially because look, okay, this is getting a little meta here. A lot of universities will help pay for a Chromebook. They won't so much for a regular laptop necessarily, unless it's like one that comes through them. But I know that's something that like my wife experienced, where like they were like, we'll give you a laptop if it's got these particular specs and stuff like that. And now that that could be a Chromebook that could play some games. I mean, I'm sure there's some young college students out there that would love to take that leap.
Well, so think about it like this. I've got one of the first Google Chromebooks. It's an Intel i5 It gets great battery life. I'm going to get on that beta. It has Linux support. It's got everything else, and it was like $500 or $600 or something like that. I think that's in PC territory. But if it's got the good performance and other things like that, and it's running an OS that has all of this other like free stuff with it, being able to play like League of Legends or something like that, and it not be like in the like browser,
Yeah, absolutely.
be pretty cool. But also, you can already game on these things because you have controller support and everything like that, and the like Stadia and stuff like that. But the latency on those things is not wonderful.
Yeah, that's always going to be a problem, especially in competitive games.
Right. So I think this could be something where, like you said, a high school or college kid that can't really afford like a really expensive computer, but they can get like a 12th gen i5 or i3, Intel computer that's a Chromebook, and maybe even get something that's subsidized by their school, right?
Yep.
And or something like that. It can have all those like permissions, things like that, and it just lets them like use 10% of the hard drive space to play some casual games. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like the computer I had at school was fairly fine, but it didn't really play games that you would really want to play. But just the idea of you can have a couple indie games, go play FTL or something like that, Rim World.
Yeah.
To like, oh hey, you do the thing that I did in college where I was like, oh, I don't want to have to rush to my next class, so I'll make sure I always have like half an hour in between my courses. And I hated that. That was a terrible decision, worst semester of my life, because it just leaves you having so much free time. It took you 10 minutes to get to the building, and now what do you do for 50 minutes?
Right.
It's not. You don't have enough time to go walk and go get a meal. You don't have enough time to really go do anything. You got less than an hour. But yeah, boom, play a couple rounds of some game. That'd be perfect.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think this is a good move. I do think it kind of loses sight of the whole Stadia thing that Google's doing. So is Stadia in trouble? Maybe this is going to be their solution. They were like, oh, no, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have spent money on all that infrastructure.
Look, I talked with Thomas about this for a long time, for like a year, because he had really bad internet at the time. And he was like, oh, look, but, soon you get good internet, this will be so great. People that don't have the hardware. I was like, but this is just games for Windows Live all over again. You're not going to get around that latency.
Nope.
And then when finally someone called it out, and they were in like some press thing or some interview, and they were like, what is your plan if like people have bad ISPs and like latency and packet loss?
They don't use Stadia.
Well, no, they looked directly into the camera and they said, well, those internet service providers will want to offer the best service possible, so I'm sure they'll fix those problems. It's like, because like you'll just go to a different internet provider if you don't. It was so out of touch. I was like, you know what? Look, major cities, this will probably work great. Anywhere else, this is not going to work. And it didn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see if they're backing off of that some, because again, there are certain places that cloud gaming works really well.
Yeah.
It's just not the majority of the geographical space. You might even get majority of population because, again, most big cities are probably okay. But, as soon as you're not in the big city, that's not doing so well.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to say for this episode?
No, I think I'm good. We hit it all.
So this has been season 5, episode 8 of the Beer and Broadband podcast. Really appreciate you listening to us. Would love for you to maybe engage with us a little bit more and give us some ideas on things that you'd like for us to talk about. So we've got a Twitter and a Patreon down below that you can either be part of the Patreon or just send us some messages on Twitter. I do look at that every now and then. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.